Hello and welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast with me, Lindsay White. I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs be great leaders, build high-performing teams, and create inspiring workplace cultures through innovative talent programs and practices. Because when people feel like they belong at work, they deliver their very best and businesses thrive. The Female Founder Friday podcast is all about connecting with the most incredible female entrepreneurs to talk about their journey to creating their own business, the mistakes they've made along the way, and how they view their own leadership. And I'm challenging all of my guests this season to take my leadership style quiz, and during each episode, we'll be digging into their leadership style and how it impacts the way they lead in their life and their business. And if you're interested in learning more about your leadership style and want some of my top tips to help you lead more effectively, you can take the quiz right now. Just check out the show notes or head over to highvoltageleadership.ca and click on the button at the top of the page that says Take the Quiz. Then you can share your results, connect with my guests, and join the conversation on Instagram by following me at highvoltleadership. My guest on this week's episode is Julia Lauren Klauser. Julia is the co-founder of Gldn Hour, a wonderfully flavorful collagen-infused sparkling beverage that is so fun to consume and it's great for you. Julia grew up in a home with a hardworking professional mom and an entrepreneurial dad, and it was their example that spurred her to create her own business. Now, she and her partner have leveraged their years of experience in the grocery industry to create a product that they call ingestible beauty, as well as a business that they love. Awesome. I have my friend Julia here with me today, and she has got an incredible story, an incredible journey of how she became a female founder. And I am really excited to have her tell us all about it today. Julia, welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lindsay, for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah, I am too. I'm so glad we connected. I always love meeting another great Canadian female founder because there's something special about Canadian chicks.
I agree. I mean, I've been really lucky in the last 10 or so years to work with and meet, a ton of different brand co-founders and females in various leadership roles. And I mean, there's something about Canadians. I mean,
Yes.
the Canadian ladies, we really have something in common. So yeah, no, it's great.
100%.
Likewise.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with every word of that. Well, I'd love you to tell us. I mean, I've heard a little bit about your story, but I would love you to tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Of course, of course. So it's funny. Whenever someone asks me where my journey started, I have this inkling just to tell them about how I grew up in a household where my mom worked. I remember being, 4, 5, 6, and my mom would, walk down the stairs super early in her suit, and she was the treasurer for the city of York. And so she had this really great, very high earning female job. And there would be times when she would come home and, you could tell she was having like the worst day. And it was usually surrounding the fact that, she didn't get the promotion she wanted to get because she was a female. And that was a real challenge in her career. And so, as I went through university, both my parents actually, my mom, she ended up retiring like slightly younger, but my dad always ran his own business. So I always had aspirations to start my own company. Not knowing, I mean, my dad would always be like, Julia, before you go out and jump, he's like, go learn your mistakes, make mistakes on someone else's payroll. And so which was
I love it.
Yeah, which was like my favorite line. So out of university, I actually wound up in grocery. And I say that because it's a very niche industry. Everyone seems to know each other, but if you haven't been exposed or worked in it, you don't really understand how it works, even though every single one of us like goes to the grocery store every day, and you actually are much more familiar with the industry than you may admit.
Yeah.
So my first role was working for one of the largest Canadian retailers. And I was in their procurement team, which in the world of food, procurement is private label. So I developed food products. I supported the development of food products, working with suppliers, and and making private label, like what you would see on the shelf in at Sobeys would be compliments, or at
Yeah.
Loblaws like President's Choice items. And so I really kind of found my spot in food.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I
And
love
so
it.
yeah, it's I know I'm gonna and so my first obviously my first boss working at that retailer was a female, and I remember I loved her. You know, coming out of university, you don't know anything. You're learning, and having that first impression with your first boss, it's really like it kind of impacts the rest of your
Yeah.
career, like aspirations, where you want to go. And I remember, working for her was such a pleasure. I learned so much, but after about a few years, I was like, this is not for me. I have this like dying itch that like I want to start my own company. But here I'm like starting to get my toes wet in this world of food, which I loved. I really did love. Like, I mean, all like growing up, you're like, I want to be an actress, or, I want to, be in fashion. But really, like, I had such a passion for food
I
and
love
eating.
that.
And yeah, and I love good restaurants. And so being on the flip side and helping create products for the shelf was definitely something I never knew I loved until I wound up in it, which was really great.
Isn't that interesting? I do believe that sometimes the universe just gives you exactly what you need. Maybe not what you want, but exactly what you need. And that is just it right there.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was really awesome. So then I ended up leaving and going back to doing my doing a little bit more school, getting my MBA, which is where I met my husband, which was a really nice time during my life because, we were still young, trying to still figure out, is this what I want to do? Satisfying this itch of like, okay, I'm not going to be stuck in this corporate career forever. Let's
Yeah.
see what I can do for myself. Anyways, ended up doing that, going back to work for the same company in a higher position, which I was the youngest procurement manager probably at the company for years, which was
Mm.
really great exposure as well. And it wasn't long before I met my co-founder, Jessica. And so I remember, and this is such a cute part of our story. So there wasn't many suppliers that I worked with that were female. And
Yeah.
she was one of them, this like really young, my age, from Quebec, fashionista girl who would walk into the office. We'd have our, 30-minute chats. We got our business done like right away. And we'd spend the next 30 minutes just talking about life.
Yeah.
And we really kicked it off. And then it wasn't before long, we were like, you know what? Like she had the same kind of aspirations as I did. And I'm like, I worked with so many male brokers, and they, with, all due respect to the broker world at the time, it was really traditionally like the old man with the briefcase that would walk in with a brand and add no value. And so her and I would sit back being like, how is this possible? There's so many cool products out there, and these guys like they just don't do a very good job. Like maybe this is the way we crack into starting our own business. So it
Mm.
wasn't before long where we were like, okay, you know what? We got one or two clients, and we're like, let's make the jump. And there go, we left our corporate jobs and we started our natural food brokerage. So doing that for 6 years, and I know, you know, we'll get into, where you kind of make mistakes and learn from them. But we made a ton. Like, so while we had, Rose Park, we started various other companies. We started an online um, beauty food e-commerce site, which we did at the same time. And then while running our natural food brokerage. And for people who don't really know what that is, we would help natural food brands, and a lot of female founded, a lot of brands from Quebec, because my co-founder was from Quebec originally, get into big box chains. So say, a small brand in Vancouver, or sometimes even the US, would want to get into like a Loblaws, a Metro, a Sobeys. We would help them get their products on the shelf and promote them all year long. So over the 6 years that we ran this business, we worked probably with like 40 different companies,
Wow.
have 40 different startup brands. We really got the lay of the land in terms of, I guess, what it takes to start a brand.
Yeah.
Um, but it was also really challenging. It was a really challenging time. And so we knew we loved this like world of beauty food. We knew we wanted to start our own brand. We were underappreciated. And I say that in a way where looking back, and now we work with brokers that do the role that we used to do. Like, we did such a kick-ass job, and we were so cheap. Like, we didn't charge enough money. I remember we'd be like negotiating a contract and we'd be the first to bend. And it was almost like we weren't confident in our value. And
Yeah.
it caused a lot of problems. Like, we were underpaid, and people backed out of contracts early, and it was a it was a shit show, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and it got to a point where we're like, this is not a business. Like, we're just creating a job for ourselves. A brand would walk into our lives for a year. We'd do all this work, get them on the shelves. And by the time we're like, okay, now you're listed everywhere, we're now starting to earn commission, they would get rid of us because they're like, okay, the job is done now. You know, it's time. So realizing that, like, we had wished we realized that a little bit earlier on and not 6 years into it, but in hindsight is 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think you bring up a really great point. And I mean, I certainly see this with the leaders and the founders and the business owners that I work with. And I, you know what, hand up, like, I think I
mhm,
underestimate my value as well.
mhm.
I do think that we really don't understand our power, and as a result, don't understand our value. Like, we really don't embrace it completely. So I think that that's something that everyone listening can identify with, Julia.
100%. And I mean, not to say it in a way, but men are just better at bullshitting it than us. Like, maybe they're not as confident, or they actually think they're better,
No, it's
but
true.
they can put it on. Whereas we're too honest, or we're too authentic, or we're too self-conscious and not, you know, co-
Yeah.
it's definitely, yeah. I mean, I can see a lot of women in business roles, and when they own their own company, I can kind of see that a lot of us fall into that
Yeah.
complacency
Yeah.
and have that lack of confidence. And when you look back, you're kind of like, that's so bullshit. Like, I wish I could talk to my past self and be like, wake up, like, you got this, girl, you
Yeah.
got this, you're worth it. Like, tell the brand to go F off. Like, it's one of those things. So yeah, that was definitely a time where it was really challenging to kind of even swallow that fact that, what, this we've spent so much time and effort here, but
Yeah.
like, this may not be it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
That would be
kind of
tough.
like,
That would
yeah,
be really tough.
you have to like throw in the towel,
Yeah.
so after realizing, okay, you know what, this may not be what the future looks like for us
Yeah.
at Rose Park. We always knew we wanted to start our own brand, but you don't just wake up one morning and you're like, okay, like, today's the day, let's start our own brand. Like, there's a lot of first
Yeah.
of all, you need an idea. So it was around that time. So what I touched quickly, while we were, we had our natural food brokerage, we started an online ingestible beauty website. So we brought in really cool brands, adaptogens, supplements, tools, all different types of products that boost your beauty from the inside out. And so we were obsessed with this world of ingestibles and just natural ways to feed your beauty without like makeup. Like, it's almost like women, like, we focus so much on the outside and doing our hair, when like there's actually like food is like such a powerful thing when it comes to
Yes.
beauty and enhancing your skin, like, in just getting your skin to the best point that it could be, and get you, even like with adaptogens, and feeling great. And you're starting to see all of these trends kind of trickle in. So this trend of ingestible beauties is really taking off. And so we kind of started dabbling in that, and we came across collagen. And so very quickly, because like this kind of leads into how we started the brand, but I started taking collagen. First of all, I was so convinced on the beauty benefits of
Yeah.
it. Like, at the age of 20, your body's production of collagen starts to decline. And the only way to replace it is by supplementing with it. And so 15 years ago, the technology came about where you can actually consume like collagen peptides, and your body absorbs it into the areas that it needs it most. And so, like, the way you take collagen traditionally is it's just a powder in your water or in
Right.
your coffee and in your smoothie. And so, me being the regimented, committed person I am when it comes to diets. Like if one of my friends, you would ask one of my friends, they said Julie has tried every diet and she's done it for like, for 2 months and she's committed, or she's not going out this for the next like 5 weeks because she's doing this new thing. So when I commit to a new regimen, I like to follow it through.
Yeah.
And so I tried to convince Jessica, my co-founder. I'm like, you know what, Jess, like you have to start taking collagen. Like it's so amazing. My eczema's like gotten so much better. My skin's glowing. I am just obsessed with it. And being the French Canadian that she is, things have to be easy and they have to taste good. And she, a week into it, she's like, Julia, how do you take this? I'm not ruining my coffee in the morning. I don't eat smoothies like it's like, I get it. She's like, I get it. I want to take it. I'm equally as obsessed with the benefits as you are, but no, like this is me. And then we looked at each other and we said, well, maybe this is it. And so we started diving in on research on collagen, and just the research that is starting to come out in the last 5 or 10 years is really impressive. Like there's
Yeah.
medical journals on the efficacy of it, and very like controlled scientific studies on how well it works at replacing your body's collagen. And so having that in mind, we're like, okay, what would be the perfect product for this? So now we take our idea hat on, we put our category management hat on, we say, okay, what's the product category? Sparkling water, let's do it. And so we spent 2 years and we developed a line of collagen infused sparkling waters. And the brand, as you know, is called Gldn Hour.
Yeah.
And each can has your daily dose of marine collagen, so it's super easy to commit to taking collagen.
Yes.
But taste was really important to us. So it's funny. Some people, I mean, natural food products sometimes rush it, and they're, it's all about the benefits, and they don't really care how it tastes, because normally the consumer is a little bit more lenient with, I guess they've had to become a little bit flexible with the taste.
Yes. I think if it's good for us, it couldn't possibly taste good. Right?
Exactly. So it's okay for it not to taste good, but for Jessica, it had to taste good.
I
I look back and I'm like, thank goodness, because people thoroughly enjoy it. Mm-hmm.
Well, and you have sent me some. When we
Mm-hmm.
initially connected, when Julie reached out to me, we had our first chat. First of all, we became besties like 5 minutes in. And then she actually sent me some of the Gldn Hour drinks, and they really are delicious. It doesn't taste like you're drinking collagen.
Did you have a favorite?
Yes.
So there was peach ginger, strawberry mint, grapefruit cucumber, and then the new ones are watermelon lime and cherry coconut.
I loved the strawberry. That was my favorite. I liked the ginger, or the peach ginger, but I really loved the strawberry, and I enjoyed all of them. Please don't get me wrong. And they're easy to drink, and they're kind of fun because they're a little fizzy, right?
Yeah. Making them sparkling. I think it was we chose a sparkling water, and there's a few flat versions on the market today, and we know they don't do as well. But I think having them sparkly is a little bit more fun. You're seeing people mix them, like creating mocktails with them, or even cocktails. And so really seeing that kind of evolve naturally, even though we were like, okay, maybe they will use it for this. And then actually seeing that come to life has been really, really great. And I think like on the female side of things, going through our research, we were like, okay, beverages, there was like this whole functional beverage category review, and it said that females were brands that targeted and developed products for females directly, it was very underdeveloped. So most of the beverages in the functional space on the market today are actually developed for male consumption. And I mean, it's not surprising when you look at the category and you see like cold brew coffees and kombuchas, and you'll see different types of adaptogenic drinks, the non-alcoholic. And there isn't much that scream like, hey, this is a girl drink, or, you're going to love this. And when females are the primary shopper. So going into this, we were like, you know what, even though men drink our beverage too, and they love it, we wanted to create a product for women that made this easy for them. After looking at it, we're like, how does this not exist? Like, it's something that women love to take for their skin. How
Yes.
is no one? And then we started going into it, and with our experience working with so many brands in the past. Like, I would have to say, like 80% of the brands we worked with were all founded by men.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think ultimately that's a big
Mhm.
part of it. We
Yeah,
create things that we know and love and are excited about. And
yeah,
if you're a man, you likely create those for other men. And if
yeah.
you're a woman, you should be creating those for other women.
Or you have men trying to create beverages for women that just aren't translating into a
Yeah, they
female,
don't, it doesn't resonate
no?
the same.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't resonate
resonate.
the same. And can
Yeah.
I just say, you can tell that Julia drinks her own, like her own Kool-Aid, as they say, because you
Oh,
can't see it, but her skin is incredible. It's beautiful. She's
oh,
27
thank
weeks pregnant. She looks absolutely fabulous. There is
you.
no
Thank
doubt. I mean,
you.
you're right. We're learning about how this collagen can really impact the way we look and the way we feel.
Yeah.
And having it in a drink that makes it fun to consume, that tastes good, that it feels a little luxurious too, is sort of how I felt, like it was something special. And I think that makes the difference too.
Oh yeah, you're not alone. I mean, we and our social media, I mean, and I didn't mention this yet, but we launched in the middle of the pandemic. So I mean, we can all relate during that
Yeah.
time, the first few months. So our actual first production was May in that first year of the pandemic. And it was actually a really good time for us because people really shifted their focus to their own self-care. They're like, what am I doing for myself? What do my routines look like? How am I supporting, mental, physical health at home? What are my habits? And we actually gained a lot of followers really quickly. And just like you said, I mean, our drink ended up for a lot of people, it's a daily ritual, but it was like an enjoyment. Like, they like to post about it. It was like, hey, here's my time. Look what I'm drinking. Like, this is me. Like, this is my time. It's my self-care time. And it really resonated with people. And so, yeah, it is a treat for a lot of people too, which is nice. And it's nice to have, a treat every day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and there's also no sugar. So I
Yeah.
think that's really important too. I mean, for us, um, collagen is actually has like a taste and texture, and it was tricky to formulate because we wanted to make sure it had absolutely no sugar. And
Yeah.
then obviously, we toyed back and forth. Should we be adding a little bit of natural sweetener? But we're like, no, like, what, women, for us, we don't want sugar. We get enough sugar in every other place. We don't
Yeah.
want to be drinking it. And so I think we did a good job at eliminating, not putting any sugar in it, and making sure it still masked that taste, the collagen, and it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and it was a really fun treat for me. So I sure appreciated getting my pretty pink box.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
I mean, you talked a little bit about already about maybe some of the places where you messed it up, screwed it up, fucked it up. But
Hmm.
looking back, even on Golden Hour, a couple years in, what would you have done differently? Like what would that look like?
Oh God. So yeah, I mean, you start to look and you're like, okay, there's probably more times where like you've messed things up than you've done things right. And I think that by the time we launched Golden Hour, Jess and I had a lot of time to make very big screw ups. So when it comes to running a business or dealing with people, I think from our Rose Park days, from our natural brokerage days, uh, and how we applied it to Golden Hour was, when something isn't working, like, don't waste any more time doing it. When you have a relationship with a co-packer, an ingredient supplier, and it's like going south, or you know someone's kind of falling short of their commitment to you, and it's just not working, sometimes it's better to just not push through it and just to let things go.
Mm,
So that
yes.
helps. So when it comes to Golden Hour, whenever there was a new co-packer, and this is a nightmare. And so knowing this, being like, okay, you know what, you partner with all of these suppliers,
Yeah.
and some are great and some are really bad. And the ones that are really bad, run for the hills, kind of thing. Like, don't try to fix them. don't give them too many chances, because at the end of the day, it's you're paying for the
Yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah.
And so going into into our first production of Gldn Hour, we actually worked with a co-packer that we were a small fish in a big pond. And so again, I guess in our Rose Park days, we were also, a small brokerage that worked with big brands, and we kind of felt inferior. And so we would
Yeah.
take a lot of shit. We would
Yeah.
take a lot of shit, and we were like, okay, well, we'd make excuses for taking a lot of shit. We're small, we're new, we're female, we're young, maybe we don't know, we're not charging enough. And so we actually worked with a co-packer who, oh God, for a year and a half would produce like way less product than they should have. And we would we should have, every production, we probably only should have lost like X percent, like a small percentage of our product.
Yeah.
We would lose half of it. So our PO would come and we'd had half of our shipment, and the rest of it would have just been lost. And, we would ask questions, but then we were also fed the sob story of, you know what, you should be grateful that you're getting line space. You're small, you're new, even though we're paying full pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
What
kind of
the
told,
hell?
you're too, like, this is just the way it is. And we should have known better to be like, no, it should not be the way, this should not be the way it is.
Oh,
And so we spent a year and a half dealing with that. And at the end of the day, looking at our financials, we took some really big losses. But pandemic, we didn't really have that much of a choice to switch at the time. So it was kind of like our hands were tied. But at the end of it, we said, enough is enough. And we ended up like making sure that it was fair, settlement wise, financial wise at the end, where we were reimbursed for some of the losses, and we moved on to a much better partner.
I
Uh,
love it.
yeah.
But it goes back to what you said, even a few minutes ago, is that we play pretty small. We
Yeah.
keep ourselves pretty small, and we don't ask for what we need.
Hmm.
We don't take what we deserve.
Hmm.
We don't charge what we're worth.
Hmm.
And I hear that from a lot of female entrepreneurs, as something they look back on and regret.
Yeah.
Right? I needed to be bolder. I needed to be bigger. I maybe needed to be bossier.
Bossier, 100%, because you know what? People aren't going to give you anything. You kind of
No.
have to take it. You have to take what you deserve, and you have to stand up for yourself. And I
Yeah.
know it sounds so cliche. Like, as I was thinking about, okay, Lindsay asked me to start thinking about some of the challenges we face, and some of them are really cliche, but they're so true.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes back to the basics, where it's like just knowing what you're worth and being confident, and taking what you deserve. Because there's nothing that feels shittier than being like, I cut myself short.
Yeah. Like I didn't even ask for it. Not even the
Yeah.
taking it part. I
Oh,
didn't even ask for it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And you're right. I think I hear that. I hear that as a bit of a theme through many of the episodes, through a lot of the coaching work that I do,
yeah.
really embracing taking up space, asking
Mhm,
for what I need,
mhm.
embracing that I deserve to ask for this price or this discount, or right, like we do.
What's interesting too is I do think that it's something that needs to be like constantly, whether self-coached back to you, because even though we're sitting here and we're saying, okay, this is, almost like a problem that a lot of us share, and it's almost it's subconscious a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you can go back into that mindset and make the same mistake over and over again, and it's almost like it has to become part of your rule book, and you have to constantly remind yourself, okay, you know what, this is where I sell myself short, or my downfall.
Yes.
I have to make sure that every day, or in every business dealing, like, you're really showing up for yourself, and you're really, you know not fighting, but just making sure you're
Yeah.
getting your fair share.
No.
And yeah, no, definitely. So I think that, even as for you as a coach, it's probably such a huge part of your client focus, because even though you're told 20 times, you can still do it again. That's
Yeah.
the hardest part. It's almost like, okay, have I like changed? No, but like, do I consciously try to make a deliberate effort to not be that way? Yes. And I think we're
Yes.
going to have to constantly try to do that, you know?
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, some of it is very conscious and deliberate. I'm
Mhm.
going to choose to behave differently. I think the other side to that, certainly a lot of the work that I do with women who own their businesses as a coach is really getting into why. What
Right.
what is causing you to show up that what is behind that behavior? What's happening
Mhm.
underneath? And if it
Exactly.
is an issue of confidence, what's getting in the way of your confidence? For some, it's an issue of self-judgment, right? Who
Mhm.
do I think I am to ask for that price? Well, wait a
Mhm.
minute. Whoa, that's a whole conversation happening in your head, right? So there's some really, really cool work to be done underneath some of those questions so that you can shift that behavior and it doesn't hold you back. And
Exactly.
that, I mean, that's the stuff that I love to do. And it can be really profound work for individuals to get started on, right? Like it can be, well, I mean, you've articulated it, right? It's
Mhm.
powerful when you can step into your full expression of
Yeah.
what your value is.
Yeah, and what's funny too is when you do it, when you finally like find it within yourself and you're making those changes and you're taking what you deserve and you're being more firm in your communication with people. So it's not burning bridges, but it's
No.
just being very firm in what you want and what's in, like if you're working on a deal or on a contract, what that looks like for you. And you
Yep.
know what, at the end of the day, the person on the other end, and I'm a huge advocate for like not burning bridges, keeping
Oh,
everything cordial, but being
yes.
being fair. And you know what? The other person will respect, you
Yes.
do earn more respect that way. And you do earn yeah, and it's something where you feel like you know that you've
Yeah.
kind of positioned yourself in your argument in the right way, and you feel good about it. So it's empowering. It's
Yeah.
empowering to be able to do it, and I think others kind of look at you and they give you more respect, and they see it too. So
Yeah.
when you do get the courage to kind of start sticking up for yourself and your business and what you deserve, I do think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the reaction of others to
Yes.
that. They won't be upset at that. They will lift you up. Most will. I mean, 10% of the assholes might not, but most will appreciate it, you know?
Like my
Yeah.
dad says, there's assholes everywhere.
Yeah,
No, but I, you know what? I really resonate with that, and I've had to do some of that myself. Like, you know, people schedule meetings, and well, let's meet over here halfway across the city at my office, and as anxiety and inducing as it can be, responded and said, "Thank you so much for the offer of your office space, but I'm
yeah.
not able to accommodate that 3 days a week."
Hmm.
Oh, well, of course they didn't know that. Like, this is the other part of it, is that we don't put it out there.
Right.
And then we get a little resentful when they don't understand us. Well, they're not mind readers. So we have to be clear with our expectations, with our values, with our desires in order
Yes.
for anyone to even be able to start negotiating with us.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if you don't put it out there, there's nothing to talk about. So
Exactly.
I really love that as a great takeaway from this conversation,
Mhm.
is that you have to have the confidence to just state clearly and emphatically what you need,
Yeah.
and then
Exactly.
see what comes back.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely what a brilliant lesson.
Yeah, I think so too. You would
So
think we almost planned that, but we didn't.
no, this is the beauty of this
I
podcast. None of this
know.
is planned. Beautiful things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, it's
Um,
true.
we're going to transition now to talk about Julia's leadership style, and she's already taken my leadership style quiz.
Mhm.
If you haven't taken it yet, you can find it in the show notes. You can also go to the website, highvoltageleadership.ca. You can take the leadership quiz. There's a button on the website. You just press that button, take you right to it. And not only is it going to give you some insights about your leadership style, I've got some great leadership tips for you that you can implement right away. But Julia, tell us, what's your leadership style?
Yeah. First of all, I thought taking the quiz was very fun.
Oh, I'm
I
so
mean,
glad.
yeah, some of the questions really stumped me because you were like, I was okay. which one would I be? And some of them I was on the fence, but I very clearly came out with a coaching leadership style.
Love it.
And yeah, so from some of the questions that I answered, and so in my capacity in my few companies, we've started with my serial entrepreneurial track record. It's always been in partnership, so we haven't had a lot of employees that work under us.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've worked with a lot of subcontracted partners where
Mm.
they work for me, they work for our business, but they are independent.
Yeah.
And so I now kind of looking at this, taking your quiz and thinking about it, my method is to get them to have people work hard for our company and work with me. I like to get my hands dirty with them.
Yeah.
I spend hours with them brainstorming, building planners, coming up with ideas for different plans. So in our current roles, I mean, we do everything. We have a hat for every role, but I mostly manage like our finance side of the business and our marketing. So I'm really hands on the creative side, which I love. And so we work with a few graphic designers and subcontractors, and we have sales brokers. And it's really just getting involved with them, but then also giving them the space to do their own
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
I think that in my experience, having the other style where it's more of, this is what I want, get it to me by this time. I mean, I'm sure there's benefits to having, that type of style too. But for me, it's very much, I want them to love working with me. I want the
Yeah.
people who work with me to produce their best work. If
Yes.
I want to control everything, I might as well do it. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want. I want someone to take it and run with it. So I
Yes.
really, I'm not involved at all, but I really do pass the baton and say, you know what, this is what we need to have done. This is our timeline. Let's see what you can do. If you want to spend any time with me to pick my brain, I'm all yours, as
Yeah.
much time as you need. And then I think that's kind of how I ended up in the coaching, in the coaching style. Yeah.
I love that. And I think, having a coach like approach can be really valuable and really inspiring because and I think you made the point. You really get other people doing motivated to do their best work. They're
Mhm.
inspired because you are you're bringing them into that vision, and I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, yeah, no, as one person, like two people running a company, there's so much that has to be done that I find that if you try to control everything and do it all yourself, you're not going to do a good job.
No.
Like, so letting go and giving it to someone who you chose,
Yeah.
has, is more than capable, if not better than you in certain areas, and you let them
Yeah.
know that,
Right.
you're going to benefit the overall company and your brand, and beautiful things can come out of that. So
It's so true, right? I mean, there's two of you, there's one of me. You got to wear a lot of hats. You got to
yeah,
hustle in a lot of ways. But you're right. When you find someone who is better at something than you are, and inevitably, you're not going to be great at everything. Like we all have
yeah,
our zone of genius. And then in all those other places, we need to find experts to help us, right?
exactly.
You got to
Exactly.
know enough to be dangerous. Like I know how to use Canva, but I'm not a graphic designer, right? And I don't want to be, right?
Right.
But when we can really engage people, we can pique their curiosity, we can ask them great questions that then get their beautiful big brains going.
Mhm.
We get way more out of them than, you're right, just giving, direction and micromanaging. And the truth is, it's work we shouldn't be doing anyways.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
and I do and I do feel like in the last 2 years with the pandemic, there's such a shift in the way people want to work, whether you work for yourself, whether you work for a corporation, the whole deadlines, 9 to 5, the expectation that you're sitting at a desk, you know, during those work
Oh, yeah.
hours, like people want the flexibility. And so I almost feel like having that making sure you're flexible in terms of expectations, maybe not deadlines and stuff, but when they work, how somebody wants to work. Like most artistic people that I know, like they'll be doing their graphic work like at like from 9 to 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Like they like to work super late, or you know what I mean? And then they might sleep it in the morning, and that's the way it works for them. So I find that giving people the space to be flexible in their life, which obviously will just translate into better work professionally, is I think that's really great too.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm a huge proponent of remote work. I'm a huge proponent of a results-based work environment. You get the work done, you do great work, you do that work when you need to do it. All I need to know is that it's going to be on my desk or in my inbox at 2 p.m. on Friday. And actually, I don't give a shit how you get there.
Exactly.
All I want to know is that I get the best result from you and I get it in the time we've agreed. And, you know, I think that just allows people to operate in the way they're going to operate best. It allows them to be their most creative at, you know, midnight on a Thursday. If that's your jam, go for it. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think with a coach like style of leadership, you get more out of those people. So I really love that. Julie, thank you so much. You've shared some incredible lessons, some incredible ideas today on the show. It's been such a pleasure to have you here. It's, you know, it's such a pleasure to be connected with you just in general.
I know. Thank you for having me. No, this has been really nice.
Oh,
It's
been
really nice.
Yeah, it's been an absolute joy to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone listening enjoys it. And
Yes.
obviously, if you know, want to follow us on Instagram, our handle's Drink Gldn Hour. So Gldn Hour is spelled abbreviated, so GLDN.
Yes.
Drink Gldn Hour. And I mean, we're doing some really great things. I guess in terms of what's happening this week is we just shipped our first pallet to California. And
I love that.
We're going to be launching at 𝐉𝐮𝐥𝐬 Market, which for our Canadian friends, it's the American chain in Southern California that all the celebrities shop at. So I'm hoping that we get some nice Instagram mentions.
Fingers crossed.
We're dipping our toes. So follow us if you ever want to reach out. I mean, obviously I work with a few people, but we manage the social media. So it's kind of a direct link to me. And I'm sure if you have any questions, Lindsay can provide my email. I'm so happy to connect with other women. You know, if you're feeling lonely in your role, I guess one of the last things is, you know, as a female founder of anything, a lot of people are doing it on their own, like you, Lindsay, right? Where I've always felt fortunate because I have Jessica. And so her and I, we've always had each other. But I'm always happy to connect with other women just to chat. Yeah.
What a beautiful offer. That is really lovely. And you know, so you can find Jill. We'll put the links to the Instagram in the show notes. You can find her. You guys know, as you're listening, you can always reach out to me too. Offer stands from my perspective. Always have some time to connect with female founders that just need a place to connect and not feel so lonely. Where for the people that listen here in Canada, where can we find Gldn Hour? Where are you?
Okay, so we're at over 1,200 stores across Canada. Yeah, so I know it's good. So if I go nationally we're at Sobeys, Loblaws. When you come closer to like Quebec, we're at all the IGAs. We are at Metro in Ontario, Longo's. We're on well.ca, which is national as well. And if you go a little bit more out west, we're at a few of the London drugs, and then we're at a ton of natural independents. So we do have a store locator on our website. So you can throw in your postal code and see what is the closest store near you that has it. And then we also ship online. So that is an option as well for you to try.
I love it. All right. If you haven't had a chance to try Gldn Hour, you got to try it. It's good for you, and it also tastes good, and it's kind of fun to drink.
Yeah, it'll get you glowing.
It'll get you glowing. I love it. That's exactly it. Okay, well, thank you for your time. And I absolutely can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Me too. Thanks, Lindsay.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I sure hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. And if you did enjoy today's episode, would you do me a favor? Would you give the episode a 5-star review and share it with all of your friends? I would really appreciate that. I've got a goal to impact 1,000 female founders, and with your help, we can really amplify this message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me and all of my guests on Instagram at High Volt Leadership. We'll see you next Friday.